So today we're going to be doing a request video. Someone asked David, or asked me anyhow, what and how I pre-flight and kind of what I do to get my plane going up in the air and make sure it works well. So that's what we're going to be doing today. First things first, you always do a proper pre-flight of your plane. Feel all the points. I especially pay close attention to the things I've done to the plane. So my landing gear, I make sure always those points are done, and my tail gear, I make sure everything's set there. The reason being is, if I've done it, I trust myself, but I always want to double check myself and just confirm it's good to go, and it's proper thing to do for every pre-flight. So I'm not going to walk through a pre-flight with you, just kind of point out the simple things. Is the spars are wood. You want to check for cracking when they extend out for your flaperons. You check those. I always check all control surfaces, make sure they move. Check my fuel. I am running here, I am based out of Rio Linda, so I am running 100 LL at 91, basically pump gas. Well, here in California, we are ethanol-based gasoline, where they put, I believe, up to 10% of ethanol in the gas mixture. Well, I'm running, I have fiberglass tanks, and the ethanol will actually eat the fiberglass, and you'll get a gummy thing that we'll call fuel lines. Also, I believe Rotax rig doesn't recommend ethanol on the motor itself, and I think Rotax might as well. That'd be something you should double check. So, pre-flight underway. We'll get inside and kind of show you my startup, my run up, takeoff, and a landing. Okay, so this, like I was saying, this isn't a in-depth point of everything for a pre-flight. You should know that, and you should do it every time. One thing that's more exclusive to the Avid is the breather tanks, or the vented tank, I should say. What I always do is when I dip my fuel and all that stuff, I just kind of blow in them, make sure they're not clogged. Also about the Avid, they have header tanks right behind the seat here. Let's see if I can show you that. Right here. Which this header tank is honestly is the leading edge, capped off. So I was having a guy come out, and he's actually a real good Rotax guy, especially on 582. And he was telling me that I should be installing a header tank breather valve. Since my tanks are not back vented, I did heed his warning. And what that is, I'll share right now, is basically this line comes down to the top of the tank, on off valve, and a port that kind of just goes out. So what I do is before I start flying, I just crack open my vent, and you can see the air working out of the tanks. All that air worked out of that header tank. So that's just one sure way I know that I have no air in my system. And also is when I'm on long flights, if I start to see a large buildup of air, I crack it, bleed the air out, close it off. So what I do is when I first come out, turn that on, get my fuel flowing, get all that air out of there, do my pre-flight, check my fuel, and then pull it out and get ready to go. Okay, so how I have it set up is my timer's down here, my master, and my on for my manuals. So first off, what I do a couple shots of primer. Pull your stick back, make sure it's cleaned in. On, click. A little cold, get another shot, hope you don't flatter. Clear. Okay, so you're not gonna be able to hear me talk to you in the cockpit, so I decided to just do voiceover for you. So basically what I do is when I start the engine up, I like to get it up to around 3,000 RPM. And what that does is starts to warm the motor, and also make sure I'm running, get my fuel pressure set, and all that good stuff. So, and a Rotax 582, they are cold and they stay cold, and you don't want that. So there's a long warm-up procedure for them. How I do it, this is me, there's probably other methods out there, and there's probably other ways of doing things, but how I do mine is I first start off pulling the plane out, starting it, getting up to 3,000 RPM, and that's when I will start to do cockpit management, get my iPad out, and get everything in order, because I don't like to do this, get everything ready, start it, and then kind of sit there for minutes. So what I do is basically get it going, and then I start to do my cockpit management. So I built a Stratix box. That's that little white thing up top I'm just pointing to, and it works really great. I built it off of Amazon for around 120 bucks 2 years ago, or say. So prices may have gone up now, whatever the causes maybe for that. And what I do is I link my iPad to it. Once I see the temperature start to register on my water temp gauge, that's when I'll actually release my brakes and go ahead and roll on out to my warm-up area. Make sure, this is most important, make sure you wave at all the friendly aviators out at your airport. That's crucial, because one day you may need help with some problem you don't know how to solve, and they're going to look at you like, oh, you're the guy that doesn't wave. No, be the guy that waves, everyone gets along, and it'll pay back. Okay, once at the warm-up area, what I start to do is I always check my surfaces. I know you can do the box, you can do whatever. I look at one thing, starting with my left flapper on there, and I move it. Then I'll look at my right, move everything in a square, move everything back. Look at my vertical and horizontal stabilizer, along with the brakes and flaps. From there, I like to move into my gauge check. So I will just kind of scan across the dashboard there, or the panel, instrument panel, and make sure everything's set. Make sure I'm getting the proper fuel pressure, make sure I'm also seeing proper pressure in my water system. As my temp starts to climb, also checking my EGT. From there, I go into kind of my cockpit management. If I haven't already set my iPad, then I will. I like to check the doors, make sure my seatbelts are locked, check my fuel, make sure my fuel's on, make sure my tank valve is off, and then I roll into a mag check. So I get mine up to around 4,000 RPM. I'll check the one mag, bring it back, check the second mag, bring it back, make sure I'm checking the drops, seeing the drops I like. I bring it up to 4,000 RPM. From this point on, I leave it at 4,000 RPM. I will sit here a little bit longer and let the engine warm up. What you're doing is you're allowing the motor, the water temp may be where it's supposed to be, but you're allowing the engine and components, pistons, bearings, something like that, to start to expand. Here I'm just basically rolling out, checking the pattern, make sure everything's clear. I make my call. My push to talk button is right next to my throttle right there on the left hand side, so I will usually always keep my hand on the throttle when I'm doing things and I need to talk. Push it there, it's there where I need it.
Once the airplane, I bring to full throttle. I release the back pressure on the stick because what that's doing is just slowing me down. So I bring it to neutral, and then I let it pick up. I feel it. I need to be more precise on my actual airspeed to let you guys know when I rotate. But I go off the feel. I know where it's at. I know when the plane's gonna fly, and that's when I'll rotate back. I like to climb out at 60 airspeed, 60. That's gonna give me my best climb. Right now, it looks like I'm doing around 800, 900 feet a minute, and that is usually pretty good. It's a nice cold day. That's about where an average I get. I don't know if you heard it or not, but during my climb, I use full throttle takeoff. Once I get airborne, I hold into full throttle. I believe Rotax is allowed to full throttle for 5 minutes consistently. I don't push my motor that hard. There's no need to. This plane gets off real quick and stays climbing. I'll back mine out from around 6,400 back down to around 62, and then when I get more of a simple, I got enough altitude, I pull it down to 6. When I'm cruising, it's usually around 58.6. My glide speed that I always aim for is 60 indicated on my airspeed. That gives me a good fall of around 500, 600 feet a minute. And that's basically what I built it on. I know that's a good speed for me, and it's not too slow for the plane, but it allows me just to come in nice and slow and slow down real quick when I can come down that landing. So being such a light plane, I know I'm going to float a little bit. I come in, hold it off, float, get down to around almost 40, 50, no, probably around 45 I would say. Slow down, that's usually my landing speed right there. Comes down flush, land and go. And here's just a touch and go for you. And that is basically a pre-flight, takeoff, and land in my Avid. Your numbers will vary due to everyone's home built being a little bit different, but those are some good base numbers that I like to go use. Make sure when you do get your Avid, get out there, fly it, and you do your slow sweets. You find out when you're going to brake on your stall, and get out and just fly it and enjoy it. I hope this helps.